Hey everyone, welcome back to the Deep Research Podcast. We are absolutely thrilled to have you here with us today.
It is great to be back. Seriously, there's a lot to talk about.
There is. So I want to take you to a specific moment in time, right now, today. It is Monday, February 2nd, 2026.
Right now.
And if you have opened up your newsfeed this morning, or if you've been doom scrolling through social media like I have, you are probably seeing a lot of noise about the Middle East.
Oh, yeah. It's everywhere.
It feels like the standard cycle, doesn't it? Tensions are high, rhetoric is flying, threats are being traded back and forth. But we have a stack of reports here. I mean, a serious stack. Sources from military analysts like David Hookstead, some really dense geopolitical summaries, and raw satellite data analysis.
They're good stuff.
The good stuff. And the mission for this deep dive is to look past that surface level noise, because the picture these reports paint is, well, it's unnerving.
Unnerving is putting it mildly. I think if you're just reading the headlines, you're seeing a regional flare-up. You're seeing the usual suspects.
Right.
But if you actually look at the data we have on the table today, you are seeing a tectonic shift. It's fundamental.
And the catalyst for today's conversation, the thing that really kicked off this analysis and made us say, okay, we need to do a deep dive on this immediately, is a single ship, a Chinese vessel that just popped up where it absolutely shouldn't be.
The Yang Yiho.
Exactly, the Yang Yiho. And looking at this initially, my first thought was, okay, the U.S. and Iran are staring each other down again.
A classic matchup.
It's a bilateral issue.
Yeah.
Washington versus Tehran, same old story we've seen for decades. But reading through your notes in these reports, you're telling me that is the completely wrong way to look at this.
It is the old world way of looking at it. I mean, it's an outdated model. If you're looking at this as just the U.S. versus Iran, or even, throwing Israel in there, Israel versus Iran, you are missing the entire chessboard.
The whole game has changed.
The whole game. What these sources from February 2nd are screaming at us is that the scope has changed. This isn't a duet anymore. China and Russia have entered the chat.
And they haven't just sent a strongly worded letter.
Oh, no. Not a diplomat to shake hands. They have sent heavy metal. They have sent assets. The Dragon's shadow, China's military reach, is now cast directly over the Persian Gulf.
Okay, so let's be super clear here. We aren't talking about proxy support or, funding in the shadows. We are talking about physical presence.
Physical, lethal presence. We are seeing a convergence of intelligence, logistics, and advanced weaponry that turns what should be a regional conflict into a global flashpoint. Instantly.
Well, let's get into it, because we need to unpack this layer by layer. And it starts with that ship I mentioned, the eyes on the water.
Right. It all starts there.
So let's talk about the Yang Yiho. On paper, if I pull up the Maritime Registry, or if you look at the AIS data publicly, this is listed as a scientific research vessel.
Right.
Which sounds innocent enough. It's out there studying, plankton salinity levels, global warming trends.
If only. If only it were studying plankton. Look, scientific research is the oldest cover story in the naval playbook. It's been used for 100 years.
So it's just a cover.
It gives a ship plausible deniability to operate in international waters, even within exclusive economic zones, without technically being classified as a warship. But anyone who tracks naval intelligence, and the analysts in our source material certainly do, knows that the Yang Yiho is a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Okay, so what is it really?
It is a dedicated intelligence collection platform, a spy ship, a big one.
So let's track the movement here, because this is where it gets really suspicious. Our sources indicate this ship was operating in the Arabian Sea, just kind of loitering, doing its thing. And then something interesting happened. It went dark.
Completely dark.
Yeah.
For 2 full days, it turned off its AIS, its automatic identification system.
Okay, so for those listening who might not be maritime buffs, can you just explain AIS really quickly? Why does a ship have it, and why is turning it off such a huge deal?
Sure. Think of AIS like the Find My Friends app for ships. It's a transponder that broadcasts the ship's name, its speed, its heading, its location to everyone else nearby, and crucially, to satellites.
So it's a safety thing?
Primarily, yes. It's a safety feature so ships don't crash into each other in the dark or in bad weather. You generally do not turn that off unless you don't want anyone to know where you are going. It's suspicious behavior 101. It's like turning off the lights on your car while driving down the highway at night.
So it pulls a vanishing act, it ghosts the network.
It runs silent, likely repositioning at top speed, maneuvering to get into a specific slot, a specific piece of ocean, without being tracked in real time by commercial or open source intelligence.
And then on February 2nd, today, it finally turned its transponder back on.
It did. And surprise, surprise, it surfaced right in the vicinity of the USS Abraham Lincoln carrier strike group off the coast of Oman.
That is just, it's so brazen to just park yourself next to an American carrier group.
It is extremely bold. It's a statement. But it's more than a statement, it's a mission.
But help me understand the utility here. We live in an age of satellites. We know where the ocean is. We know where aircraft carriers generally are. They're huge nuclear-powered cities. They're not exactly stealthy.
Right.
So why does a spy ship need to be physically close? What is it doing that a satellite can't do from hundreds of miles up in space?
That is the key question. And the answer is SIGINT. Signals Intelligence.
Yeah.
Satellites are mostly optical or radar-based. They take pictures, they look down and see shapes. A spy ship, like the Yang Yiho, is essentially a giant floating vacuum for the electromagnetic spectrum.
So they are listening.
They're listening to everything. Imagine an aircraft carrier strike group. It's not one ship, it's a whole fleet. You have the carrier, cruisers, destroyers, submarines. It's a floating city that is constantly talking to itself.
What kind of talking?
You have pilots in F-35s talking to the air traffic controllers on the carrier. You have destroyers talking to submarines via encrypted sonar data links.
Mm-hmm.
You have radar systems, specifically the SPY-1 radar on the Aegis destroyers, constantly pulsing out energy to scan the sky for threats. Every single one of those transmissions is a signal.
And the Yang Yiho is just sitting there recording all of it.
It's vacuuming it all up. It's building what we call an electronic order of battle. They are trying to map the specific frequencies the U.S. uses for everything. They're looking for patterns.
Like what?
When the carrier launches a jet, does the radar frequency shift in a predictable way? What kind of encryption does the data link between the F-35 and the destroyer use? What are the specific pulse repetition intervals of the missile defense systems? If you can map the electronic fingerprint of the enemy, you can figure out how to jam it or how to hide from it later.
That's incredible. So it's not just where are they, it's how do they work. It's like they're trying to steal the playbook.
Exactly. It is technical espionage in real time.
Mm-hmm.
But the where is also critical. A satellite passes over once every, say, 90 minutes. It gives you a snapshot in time. It tells you where the carrier was.
Right.
This ship is parked there. It provides a constant real-time fix on exactly where the American assets are. It's a persistent stare, not a blink.
And the implication, based on our sources, is that they aren't just keeping this data for a rainy day in Beijing.
Precisely. That is the danger. That's the part that changes the game. The fear, and the very likely reality, according to these analysts, is that this data pipeline goes from the Yang Yiho to Beijing via satellite uplink and then straight to Tehran.
So China is effectively acting as the eyes for the Iranian missile batteries.
That's the theory of the case, and it's a strong one. They're providing the targeting solution.
And it's not just the ship. This is the part of the report that gave me chills. On the same day, February 2nd, we have reports of an Iranian drone doing something very, very similar.
Yes. The coordination here is what stands out. It's too coincidental to be an accident. You have this Iranian drone, a high-end surveillance UAV, not some cheap thing, tracking the same patch of water.
And the flight path was really specific.
It was. It wasn't just a straight line. It circled repeatedly, gathering data. Then it flew south, using the mountains of Oman to mask its radar signature.
So it was hugging the terrain.
Hugging the terrain, exactly. Trying to stay hidden from the American radar net. And then it took a sharp hook north. It was clearly on a dedicated surveillance mission.
So we have a Chinese ship on the water and an Iranian drone in the air, basically triangulating the USS Abraham Lincoln.
It looks like a coordinated cross-reference. You have two different vectors of intelligence, one from the sea and one from the air, verifying the same target. And you have to ask yourself, why do you need that level of precision?
Yeah.
Why do you need to know the location down to the meter? You only need exact real-time coordinates if you're planning to target something. It's as simple as that.
Which brings us to a terrifying thought about targeting. But let's put a pin in the missiles for just a second. I want to stay on this theme of eyes. Because the spy ship is one thing, but one of our sources, the summary report, mentioned something happening on social media, and this just blew my mind. We are seeing leaks.
This is a fascinating development in modern hybrid warfare. This is, 21st century stuff. We're calling it the satellite surprise, or maybe Instagram intelligence, though in this case, it's strictly coming from the Chinese side.
So on February 2nd, today, detailed high-resolution photos started popping up online. Where were they appearing?
On Chinese social media platforms, Weibo, mostly. And these weren't, fuzzy photos taken by a tourist through a chain-link fence. These were crystal clear satellite images, top-down.
Photos of what, specifically?
High-value U.S. military positions. Specifically, F-15C fighters parked on the tarmac at the Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. That's the Tamim base. And even more critical, photos of Th-8 and Patriot missile defense batteries deployed at Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia.
Okay, so just to be 100% clear for everyone listening, these are photos allegedly taken by Chinese military satellites leaked onto Chinese social media, showing the exact location of American air power and missile defenses.
That is the assessment. And the resolution is high. You can count the trucks. You can see the orientation of the radar dishes. You can see which way the launchers are pointing. This is actionable intelligence.
Why? I mean, what is the strategy there? Why leak it? Why not just give it to Iran secretly through a back channel?
It's a flex. And it's a psychological operation, a message. By putting this out in the open, China is publicly signaling two things. First, to the U.S., we see you. You cannot hide. Your bases are not sanctuaries.
And the second message?
To Iran. Here's the target data. Go ahead.
It's almost an invitation.
It's like they're crowdsourcing the kill chain.
In a way, yeah. But think about the problem Iran has had historically. In all their previous confrontations with the U.S., we call it the blindness problem.
The blindness problem. In previous flare-ups, when Iran fired ballistic missiles at U.S. bases, like the al-Assad strike a few years ago, their guidance was, let's say, broad. They lacked granular, high-fidelity targeting data. They were aiming at a grid square.
Right, so they might hit the base, but maybe they hit the cafeteria or an empty field or a parking lot.
Exactly. If you're trying to hit a specific hardened aircraft shelter that holds the F-15s, or if you want to take out the Patriot radar so your other missiles can get through, you need precision. You need to know exactly where that radar truck is parked today, not where it was last week.
And that's what these photos represent. They are the coordinates.
You've hit the nail on the head. It changes the entire equation from harassment fire to precision strike. If Iran isn't firing blind anymore, if they're using Chinese satellite data and real-time coordinates from that spy ship, the threat level to U.S. bases and even Tel Aviv skyrockets. It means their missiles can actually hit the critical nodes.
It's like someone turning on the lights in a dark room while you're trying to hide.
That is the perfect analogy. The U.S. military doctrine relies on movement and stealth. But you can't hide a massive airbase. You can't hide a Patriot battery once it's set up and running. If the enemy knows exactly which coordinates to plug into their guidance computers, the probability of a kill goes way, way up.
So we have the eyes, the ship, the drone, the satellites, the data is flowing. But information is just one piece of the puzzle. You still need the stuff, the hardware.
Right.
And our sources are pointing to a massive logistical operation happening right now. They're calling it an air bridge.
Yeah, this is where the deep dive gets really interesting physically. It's not just data moving through the ether. It is heavy metal moving through the sky in huge quantities.
The reports indicate a massive surge in aerial resupply from China and Russia to Iran. And the numbers mentioned were significant. Something like 16 heavy transport planes in a 72-hour window.
Which is huge. I mean, you have to understand the scale here. For context, in normal times, you might see a commercial cargo flight or two per week with some, general supplies. This is a convoy, a military-grade convoy in the sky.
And we are talking about the big boys, the Chinese Y-20 heavy transports.
The Y-20s.
I've seen pictures of those. They call it the chubby girl because it's so wide. Right?
Yeah, that's the nickname. But don't let the name fool you. It's a beast. It's China's equivalent of the American C-17 Globemaster. It can carry main battle tanks, it can carry missile launchers, it can carry tons and tons of ammunition.
And it's not just China. The reports specifically mention Russian Ilyushin transports as well, the PL-17.
4 of them in the last 24 hours alone, according to the source. So this is happening as we speak.
And the cargo manifest, based on these intelligence assessments, it's not humanitarian aid. It isn't blankets and medicine.
Not even close. It's heavy weaponry. The Russian planes, in particular, are believed to be carrying advanced radar systems.
Okay, why radar? That seems defensive. If Iran has all these missiles, why do they need Russian radar?
Because of what is coming at them. Look, Iran's leadership, they're not stupid. They know that if the U.S. or Israel strikes, it won't be with ground troops initially, it will be with air power, and specifically stealth air power.
F-35s, F-22s, maybe the B-21 Raider. The invisible stuff.
The invisible stuff. And Iran's domestic radar systems, while they've improved, they struggle against fifth-generation stealth. They have gaps. They're vulnerable.
But Russia's can see them.
Russia has some of the best anti-stealth radar systems in the world. The S-400 systems, the Nebo-M radars, these are long-wavelength complex systems designed specifically to detect the low observable shapes of stealth aircraft. If they're shipping those high-end sensors to Tehran, they are trying to negate America's single biggest advantage.
So they're hardening the airspace. They're trying to make it incredibly dangerous for American pilots to even enter the country.
Exactly. It's an area denial strategy. They're building a bubble.
Yeah.
But there's a political layer to this air bridge too, right? This isn't just some under-the-table smuggling operation. This feels more formal, more official.
It does. And our expert source mentioned a specific date, January 31st.
Right, just a few days ago.
The January 31st Strategic Agreement. This seems like critical context. Russia, China, and Iran reportedly signed a comprehensive agreement covering economic, political, and military cooperation.
And the timing is not accidental. It's not a coincidence this air bridge spins up right after that deal is signed. The sources emphasize that this agreement effectively creates a no-sanctions pact.
Okay, break that down for me. What does a no-sanctions pact actually mean in the real world at the UN?
It's a diplomatic shield. It's a get-out-of-jail-free card. Think about how the West usually handles this stuff. Iran acts up, we go to the UN Security Council and pass resolutions. We pass sanctions to squeeze their economy and cut them off from the world.
But who sits on the Security Council with veto power?
Russia and China.
So they can just block it.
They can, and they will. This agreement implies that if the U.S. or Europe tries to slap new sanctions on Iran for this escalation, Russia and China will veto it. They will block it. It's a public declaration.
So it removes the penalty, it removes the consequences.
It removes the fear of isolation. It emboldens Tehran. They know that no matter what they do, the two biggest powers in the East have their back economically and politically. It allows them to act with a level of impunity they haven't had before.
So we have the eyes, we have the logistics, we have the political cover. Now we have to talk about the weapons, the actual shooters, because there is one acronym in these reports that frankly sounded like science fiction when I first read about it, the DF-21D.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
The carrier killer. The weapon that keeps naval planners up at night.
The sources are saying there are reports, and we should stress these are unconfirmed, but they're very persistent reports, that China may have exported this missile to Iran, or at least moved them into position for Iranian crews.
Which would be a monumental shift in the balance of power.
So explain it to me. Why is this specific missile such a nightmare for the U.S. Navy?
Okay, so the DF-21D is a game changer because it challenges the fundamental physics of how the U.S. Navy operates. For 70 years, the aircraft carrier has been invincible. It sits far off the coast. It's surrounded by a screen of destroyers and cruisers. It launches its jets, and it rains down power from a safe distance. It's a floating fortress.
This missile changes that.
It breaks the fortress. The DF-21D is an anti-ship ballistic missile, an ASBM.
How is that different from a regular cruise missile, like a Tomahawk or something?
Trajectory and speed. A cruise missile flies like a small airplane low, relatively slow, maybe Mach 0.8 or Mach 1. It hugs the sea. You can shoot it down with standard defenses like a phalanx cannon or a Sea Sparrow missile.
Okay.
The DF-21D is a ballistic missile. It fires up into space, it leaves the atmosphere, travels along an arc, and then comes screaming back down at its target at Mach 10.
Mach 10. That's 10 times the speed of sound, over 7,000 miles an hour.
Yes. It's hypersonic. It creates a plasma sheath around itself because it's moving so fast through the air. But here is the kicker, and this is the tech part that makes it so special. Usually, ballistic missiles follow a predictable, set arc. If you know where it started, you know where it lands. But that is the checkmate. The DF-21D has a reported range of roughly 1,500 to 1,700 kilometers.
Okay, so let's do the math here, because this is where it gets scary. The USS Abraham Lincoln is off the coast of Iran. It wants to launch airstrikes. How close does it need to get to do that?
That is the vulnerability radius problem. The carrier launches F-18 Super Hornets or F-35s. To be effective, fully loaded with fuel and bombs for a real strike mission, those jets have a combat radius of maybe 800 to 1,000 kilometers, at most.
I see the problem immediately.
It is a brutal math problem. To hit Iran, the carrier has to sail inside that 1,000-kilometer bubble. But the DF-21D can kill the carrier from 1,700 kilometers away.
It's like trying to punch a boxer who has arms twice as long as yours. You have to step inside his reach to hit him, but the second you do that, you are right where he wants you. You're in the kill box.
That is a perfect analogy. You have to step into the kill zone to do your job. And remember segment 1, the spy ship, the drone.
The coordinates, the real-time targeting.
Exactly. The DF-21D is a formidable weapon, But a missile is only as good as its targeting data. It needs to know where the carrier is in real time. That Chinese spy ship sitting off Oman, it's providing the X on the map. The Chinese satellites provide the confirmation, the missile provides the punch. The combination of the two, the sensor and the shooter, is what makes the U.S. Navy very, very nervous.
That is. It's genuinely sobering. So the carrier has to stay back, which makes its primary weapon, its jets, useless, or it goes in and risks being sunk by a weapon it can't defend against.
That is the dilemma. It's called A2AD, anti-accessory denial. They're trying to deny us access to the ocean, to make it a no-go zone.
But the threat isn't just on the water. We have to talk about the air, because one of the David Hookstead reports focused on another leaked photo that has the aviation world buzzing, the PL-17.
This is another piece of the Dragon Shadow. The PL-17 is a new, very long-range air-to-air missile. And when we say long-range, we mean long, unprecedentedly long.
The description in the report was visually striking. The source mentioned it was seen at a trade show or in a leak, next to a person for scale. It was 20 feet long.
It is huge. It's the size of a telephone pole. It's monstrous.
And the source said it has a dual-pulse rocket motor and a top speed of Mach 4. But the sheer size tells us the mission, right? You don't build a 20-foot missile to shoot down a fighter jet in a classic dogfight.
No, you don't. This is not a dogfighting missile. You build a missile this big to reach out and touch someone from 400 kilometers away.
400 kilometers, that's Washington, D.C. to New York City. That is beyond visual range combat on a scale we've never seen.
Way beyond. This is BVR combat. It's not Top Gun. You aren't seeing the whites of the enemy pilot's eyes. You aren't doing barrel rolls. This is math. This is firing a missile at a tiny blip on a radar screen that is 2 counties over.
So what is the target for a missile like that, if it's not for dogfighting with other fighters?
It's for hunting high-value assets. See, the U.S. Air Force operates like a football team. The fighter jets, the F-22s, the F-35s, they're the star players, the linebackers and wide receivers. But they are completely reliant on the quarterback and the water boy.
Okay, I like this analogy. Who is the quarterback?
The AWACS, the E-3 Sentry. Those big Boeing 707s with the giant spinning radar dish on top. They see everything. They manage the entire air battle and tell the fighters where to go. They're the eyes in the sky.
And the water boy?
The tankers. The KC-135s and KC-46s, the flying gas stations. Modern jets are incredibly thirsty. Without tankers to refuel them in midair, they run out of fuel in an hour and fall into the ocean.
And usually, those big, slow, defenseless planes stay way back in what's supposed to be the safe zone.
Exactly. They're supposed to be safe, hundreds of miles from the fight. The PL-17 is designed to kill the safe zone. With a 400-kilometer range, a Chinese jet, or an Iranian jet equipped with this, can launch this thing from way back and take out the AWACS, or the tanker. If you kill the AWACS, the fighters go blind. If you kill the tanker, the F-35s run out of gas. You don't even have to fight them. You just starve them.
But the source also mentioned a specific threat to the stealth fighters too, right? Not just the support planes.
Yes. The missile has advanced seekers, and that dual-pulse motor is key. It means it can burn its motor, coast for a long distance to conserve energy, and then reignite the motor in the terminal phase for a high-speed, high-G intercept. The fear is that it can manage its energy to chase down even high-performance, maneuvering jets like an F-22. It challenges U.S. air dominance in a way we haven't seen since the Cold War.
And practically speaking, how are they carrying this thing? It's 20 feet long. It can't fit inside a stealth fighter like the Chinese J-20.
No, it can't. The J-20 has internal weapons bays to keep its shape smooth and stealthy. The PL-17 is way too big. It has to be carried externally, under the wings.
But doesn't that ruin the stealth of the J-20?
It does compromise it. It increases the radar cross-section.
Yeah.
But here's the tactical thinking. Maybe they don't care. If you can shoot from 400 kilometers away, maybe you don't need to be perfectly invisible. You just need to be fast, get a lock, fire, and run away while your giant missile does the work. Your reach is your defense.
It creates a huge dilemma for our pilots.
A massive dilemma. If a conflict breaks out, whether over Iran or Taiwan, our pilots are entering a zone where they can be shot at before they can even get the enemy on their own radar. Their missiles are outranged.
So if we zoom out again, we have the spy ship tracking the carrier, the logistical air bridge bringing in advanced radar, we have carrier killer missiles on the ground, and now we have these ultra-long-range air-to-air missiles challenging our jets. It feels like a fortress is being built around Iran.
It is a comprehensive denial strategy, area denial. They're trying to make the entire Persian Gulf so dangerous, so lethal, that the U.S. thinks twice about even entering.
And that leads perfectly into the final layer of this whole situation, the geopolitical aspect.
Mm.
Because all this hardware creates a new political reality. The sources talk about a human shield at sea, or I guess a naval shield.
This is the most brilliant and perhaps the most dangerous part of the entire strategy. China and Russia haven't just sent supplies. They have sent warships, their own destroyers.
Right, for joint maneuvers. That's the official reason.
Live-fire drills in the Strait of Hormuz. That's the cover story.
Ah.
But think about the placement. If you have a Chinese destroyer and a Russian destroyer sailing around in the Strait, intermingled with Iranian naval vessels, what does that do to U.S. military decision-making?
It complicates it immensely.
It paralyzes it. Imagine you are the U.S. president, or you're the admiral in charge of the Fifth Fleet. You want to launch a Tomahawk cruise missile attack on an Iranian naval base. But there is a Chinese destroyer docked nearby for a port visit, or a Russian ship is in the flight path of your missiles.
If you accidentally hit the Chinese ship.
You trigger World War III. It is
Right.
that simple. If a U.S. missile, even by accident, slams into a Chinese People's Liberation Army Navy destroyer, Beijing has to respond. They cannot let that slide on the world stage. It's a tripwire.
And the sources suggest this is completely deliberate. It's a calculated risk by Beijing and Moscow.
Absolutely. They are placing their own pieces on the board to force a pause. They're effectively saying, if you want to hit Iran, you have to go through us first. And sources indicate it is working. There is reporting that the hesitation in Washington, the delay in a retaliatory strike, is partly due to this very presence. They don't want to start a global war over a regional conflict.
It's interesting you mentioned the delay, because the source discussed the diplomatic front too. The Iranian president is suddenly calling for nuclear talks, but our analyst, David Hookstead, seemed pretty skeptical about that.
He called it a stalling tactic.
And it fits the pattern, doesn't it?
Perfectly. Look at the timeline. You are moving 16 plane loads of heavy weapons into the country. You are setting up complex new Russian radar systems. You are calibrating the data links from spy ships. That takes time. You need a few days, maybe a week, to get everything integrated and online.
So you call for talks, you wave an olive branch and say, let's negotiate.
And it buys you that time. It freezes the Americans while you reload the gun. It makes them look like the aggressors if they strike while you're talking peace. It's a classic stalling maneuver.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the equation, Israel is on hotcock status.
That's the term the report used. It's vivid, but it's accurate. It means high alert. Jets are fueled, fully armed. Pilots are in the ready room. Engines are ready to turn. Israel sees this buildup. They see the Russian radar arriving. They see the missiles. And they know that every single day they wait, Iran gets stronger and the fortress gets higher. The window to strike is closing.
And we're seeing Europe shift its position too. This isn't just a U.S.-Israel thing anymore.
That's a key development that shouldn't be overlooked. The EU and the UK are hardening their stance significantly. The EU designating the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, as a terrorist organization is a major political step. It signals that Europe might be willing to join the U.S. in a conflict should it come to that. So the lines are being drawn globally. On one side, the U.S., Israel, maybe a coalition of European powers. On the other, Iran, but now they're physically shielded by China and Russia.
So as we wrap things up here, I want to try and synthesize all this, because we started this deep dive talking about a single ship, a lonely spy ship. But what we found was a web, a whole architecture of conflict.
It's a comprehensive, interlocking web. It's not random. Every piece fits. You have Chinese intelligence providing the targeting data. You have Russian and Chinese logistics providing the advanced radar and weapons. You have advanced missiles, the DF-21D and PL-17 providing the lethal punch. And you have a naval shield of Russian and Chinese warships protecting the whole operation.
It really feels like the fundamental rules of the game have changed in the Middle East. This isn't just tension anymore.
No. And here is the so what, the big takeaway for everyone listening. The era of isolated regional conflicts is over. You can't just fight Iran anymore and treat it as a contained problem. The Dragon China has effectively extended its borders and its military umbrella to the Persian Gulf. They are protecting their interests, their energy supplies, and their allies with actual physical hardware.
It raises a really provocative question for me, and maybe for you listening at home. If the U.S. carrier group is being tracked by Chinese assets and potentially targeted by Chinese missiles, which are being operated by Iran, are we already at war with China?
That is the question, isn't it? Is it a proxy war? Or is it just war without the official declaration? We're in the gray zone. When your satellite data guides the missile that hits an American ship, are you a spectator or are you a combatant? The lines have never been blurrier.
That is a thought that is going to keep me up tonight.
It should. It challenges the very definition of what it means to be at peace in the modern world.
Well, on that heavy note, we want you to stay curious, keep digging deep. Don't just read the headlines. Look at the map. Look at the flight paths. Look at the hardware.
Always look at the hardware. It tells the real story.
Thank you so much for listening to this deep dive. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more analysis like this, please make sure you subscribe to the Deep Research podcast. We are going to keep tracking the situation as it develops.
Absolutely. This story is just beginning.
Until next time, keep digging deep.
And stay informed.